Yoga Sutra. Yoga Sutra. We are covering a sutra from 5 to 11. You see that in the very beginning, we learned that this Eastern wisdom is an instrument of knowledge, aims at finding the knowledge of our true nature. And that true nature is a state of pure consciousness. And that pure consciousness has an attributes, starting with 5 attributes. Uh, Pure awareness, 1. Truth consciousness, 2. Permanent happiness, 3. Love, 4. And wisdom, 5. So once we have that in our mind, and now with that basic foundation, when we study Yoga Sutra, so we have to we expand that foundation. But I see the things, I gain the knowledge, I receive the knowledge from these 5 sense organs. Is it possible to realize our true nature by the sense organs? So our masters say, come on, never think about it, understand it clearly. The sense organs, no doubt, are the instruments of knowledge to see the world outside, with a caveat, with a condition. What is that condition? The particular sense organ and the object that we see, we gain the knowledge, should have similar properties. So if there is an object which has a name and the form and the shape and the size and the color, the eyes can see it. I can gain the knowledge of that object. But at the same time, same eyes cannot find the smell, the taste, the touch of an object. Oh, so now we have clarity. What is clarity? That knowledge of anything, any object, gained by the sense organ have more or less the similar properties. If the knower, who is the knower? Eyes. So knower should have the similar properties with an object so that I can see an object. So smell, I feel the smell. Smell has the similar. The nose has the similar property. Similarly, 5 sense organs. Why we are talking about this? We are talking about this that Eastern wisdom is the knowledge of, is an instrument of knowledge. To see that reality, to find my true nature. So now the next question arises, is my true nature has any properties which aligns with any of the 5 sense organs? And the answer is big no. So once we have that clarity, then I do not insist to the teacher, I do not make unnecessary, unwanted argument that show me the real nature, then I will believe it. You see the point of wisdom. So that has to be clear in my head. So the first, I remove the wrong notion that my sense organs cannot see, feel, touch, find my true nature, that is real self, which is of the nature of consciousness. Then we move little deeper. The mind is also an instrument of knowledge. Mind includes intellect, memory, thoughts, feel. They are also the instruments of knowledge. But they are the instrument of knowledge to gain knowledge through a concept, through an idea. Without concept, they cannot understand anything. Who is Casey? So the mind says Casey is a woman. It's a name of that woman. It has this shape and the size. The sense organ has come. And being a woman or word women is a concept. Man is a concept. House is a concept. See that? House is a concept. Restaurant is a concept. Tell me any word. So the mind creates that concept as an idea to recognize a particular object. Car. So I know. Which car? Sedan. I know. You go on specialization. Compact sedan. Mid-size. So all these are concepts and ideas. So now we are coming to another understanding. Is my real self a concept? If it is a concept, mind and intellect will definitely find it. It is not a concept. Because it is not a concept, that is why we have to go beyond the mind to find my true nature. So the science always works in the field of concept. Why? It objectifies everything. So when it is an object observed by the sense organ, processed as an idea and a concept in the mind and intellect based on their properties. I know, oh, maybe I know a little bit, I don't know it fully. That is why you see that I know about you, but I don't know you. I know about the house, but I don't know the house. And the moment I start explaining about the house, no, my house is 5 bedroom and it has four. No, I'm talking about what is in house. No, it has a space. No, don't talk me about the space. What is in house? My idea, my concept shatters completely. Why? Because this is basically an idea. Body is an idea. So how to know the body? Divide it into parts. Who divides into parts? The mind and the intellect. So well, now I have understood the very nature of the mind and the intellect that divides, perceives, and then it creates a whole as an idea. 9 systems, different organs, cells, and then we say systems. They all group together, that is known as body and an idea. Can I know my true nature as an idea? The answer is big no. That is why we have an Eastern wisdom, which is an instrument of knowledge to find my true nature, instrument of knowledge to find my true nature. as the science declares there is a valid means of knowledge to know this world, we too have the valid means of knowledge to know the real self. So we have to get rid of the wrong notions that the senses and the mind can ever find, realize, experience, know my true nature. First thing. So once we start with that foundation, our mind is clear. My friend, my mind is clear. Then where should I start? I should start with the highest faculty. What is the highest faculty? It is my intellect. So, what the intellect does, it divides and perceives. Very good. So, what you do, let the intellect divide into two groups: what is false and what is wrong. What right? Pick up the right. Let us start the journey from there. Asatoma satgamaya, tamasoma jyotirgamaya, mrityorama amritangamaya. Look at this. So, when Patanjali, if I say he was in deep meditation, the highest meditation, the knowledge revealed to his mind, he picked up that knowledge, summarized, and pressed into Sutra. So I keep that awareness inside. One more thing about the intellect. I understand a subject very well. What I understand what is car, how to drive a car. I have a driving license. So now that information is already translated and it has become a wisdom, so I can drive the car. I have now also the total understanding of what is the real nature. It cannot be found by mind, cannot be found by sense organs. I understand. Yes, I understand. So if I understand, I should have a realization. But it is not there. Why it is not there? The intellect has not 100% clarity and conviction. One reason. Second reason, I still carry the burden of the past impression. The mind is impure. Those impression creates an instant impact in my mind that prevents me to see the reality. The problem is not outside. Problem is in my mind. With that reference, the Patanjali started the first chapter. All about the mind. What is mind? What is the nature of the mind? What is the function of the mind? What causes the impurity of the mind? What is the state which is objectless? What happens when you reach to the objectless state? You reach to the highest meditative state. Then what happens? The mind reflects the real nature. And then I realize an awakening takes place. And he has summarized that in the four sutras in the first chapter. Athi Yoga Anushashanam. He removed the wrong notion. Yoga Samadhi. Then Samadhi, all Samadhi is not yoga. That is very important to keep in mind, means the mind lives in five subjective states. What are those? Wandering, forgetfulness, and which is known as Chipta, Vikchipta, and Mura. First three states, we too have samadhi, but that samadhi is not yoga. Yoga always takes place in the last two subjective states of the of the mind, that is ekagrata and niruddha. Niruddha simply means the emptiness. Why I give a brief every time? So the teaching of the Eastern wisdom says you have to teach with different expression every time. So the intellect may pick up, and that intellect may become an inspiration and may become an intuition. Maybe it gives you the deep insight. So the last two stages, ekagra. So our Vyasa, the commentator, says the fourth state of the mind you practice, and then you get four stages of mindfulness, which is known as Sampragnat Samadhi. What is Sampragnat? Simply a meditation with an object. And the last one, the fifth state, it leads to Asampragnat Samadhi. What is Asampragnat? Without an object. Means it is an objectless state. What is objectless state? Is empty state. It is mindfulness. So what happens in that? Tada drashtu swarupe avasthanam. I settle into my real nature. It reflects. It reflects. One more interesting thing. It entered into my mind. First experience near the sea beach in a full moon night. I see the moon in the water in an ocean. And suddenly my mind says, no, it is not there. So as long as I see the moon in the water, when the water is totally calm, when the water is totally calm, my mind says, I know where the moon is. The mind is gone. And I only find my real self. Mind is gone. Mind is there, which is reflecting the moon. Mind is gone. Real self perceives the self by itself. But because of the turmoil, the waves in the water, which is the mind, that is the objective states of the mind. So that is what the journey we have been taking in the last two sessions. And today is the third session to understand the five objective states of the mind. What are the five objective states of the mind? Simple. There are millions and trillions of thought patterns, and they are classified into five different objective states. One classification, and the second classification is that every objective state are either painful or non-painful. I marry a beautiful girl and I'm happy, and the same object makes me unhappy, so I'm ready to divorce. I will be happy when I divorce. I'm happy when I get married. Simple. So being happy and being unhappy is based on my objective states of the mind. So that is why we need to understand clearly what are these five objective states of the mind. So the Patanjali then says first, Vratayah Panchatayah Klishta Klishta. So first he defines that all these thought patterns are of fivefold in nature, and every objective state is either experienced as painful or non painful. Why he says painful and non painful? Because Eastern wisdom says pleasure is not a real state of happiness. Mostly you can say it is non painful. It is not a state of happiness. So he goes at the height. Other teachers says, oh yeah, there is a pleasure happiness. Pleasure is short lived. Repeat pleasure minimizes the pleasure, and at last, law of diminishing return. At last, you don't get pleasure in, in an object outside. It forms a habit, it creates a conditioning, and long list. So Patanjali is straightforward. He says either it is non painful or painful. Any object. That includes people, person, object, things, time. One day in the morning, I'm so happy. Other day morning, it's a bad morning. Why the sun has to give you a bad morning? Sun doesn't love you so much. But our mind, this is the objective states of the mind. Practical understanding. Objective states of the mind, the painful and the non painful. So once we go deeper, now we reach to Praman Viparyaya Vikalpa Nidra Smriti. These are the five fold modifications of the mind. Now, I would definitely say that the modification is a good word in English. Modification of mind is vritti, is a thought pattern. How come? I see you, my mind has modified you. It has taken the name and the form of you. That is why it is modified. So I experience pain is a modification. It is, what is the time? It is 10:30. It is a modification. I look myself into the mirror. It is a modification. So there are five modifications. So mind is either modified with the observed facts as it is and processed by the mind. I know you are Casey finished. But I have a doubt that you are Casey, then it falls into the second category, the Viparyaya. I see, not directly, but indirectly. That is also a part of the fact. Because I know about it, I know about you, so I can imagine, I can think of you. Then the dream and the fancies, they are not available for a factual perception which has been distorted, and that is the third group of modification of the mind. And the fourth is the sleep, and the fifth is the memory. Memory simply means I retrieve the past information and experiences, and that memory, if it becomes fancy, then it falls into the third category. So the mind is constantly alternating into five objective states of the mind. Finished. Mind falls into sleep, mind goes back into the memory lane, mind creates their fancies and imagination, and the mind sometimes distorts the perception. How it distorts the perception? You are a woman. How I distort the perception? You are a bad woman, you are a good woman. Good and the bad, I have given the attribute. This is the bad, this is the distortion, this is viparya. Second category. Look at this, practically looking at this. I will, this monitor by which I'm seeing you will remain with me forever. Wrong perception, I've already distorted. Can I have can I have a very big monitor like half that covers half of the wall, the imagination? I saw that big monitor with a Microsoft of work or the uh, Microsoft store memory. Look at it. So what I want to say that the mind is constantly alternating in these five states. It can alternate in these five states only in 30 seconds because it is modification. I don't need a thought. Mind is modified. And it can alternate maybe in 1 hour. I live in the first modification for 50 minutes, and the rest 5 minutes alternates into other four states. What happens? When the mind alternates in 1 hour in five objective states, and the first objective state, that is right perception, that gives me the valid means of knowledge, and out of 1 hour my mind remains in that state for 55 minutes, and the 5 minutes alternate between the rest four states. I can succeed in meditation. That is what I want to say. So what is our problem? Problem is that mind should not fall, alternate during the practice of meditation in the rest four states. That is why we say you should not sleep. That is why we say, come on, sit in asana, vertically straight, sit in meditative posture, the spine, head, and they should be in a straight line, fairly comfortable. You should not overstretch. The mind will move into reaction, fall back into the four objective states. Don't lean back too much, you will fall into sleep. Sleep is a memory. Sleep is also one of the five objective states. You see that. Now the things becomes clear that why he classified into four objective states, five objective states. Praman viparya vikalpa nidra smriti. I have not written these things in a book. You need to, I think, go through it. So now we go into the pratyaksha, pratyaksha anuman, agama pramana pramanani. Praman means the valid means of knowledge. Valid means of knowledge. Pramana. I see you. What is the valid means of knowledge? It is my eyes. It is my mind, which knows your name and the location, all the concepts. So he agrees with the science that there is a valid means of knowledge. It consists of three. Now there are three ways of pramana, Three ways of right perception, three ways of right knowledge. First is definitely what the science says. Pratyaksha, direct perception through the sense organ, understood by the science through a concept and ideas. Pratyaksha prama, pratyaksh. Direct, pratyaksh. So pratyaksha, aksh, the last word means eyes, seeing. So that is symbolic of the seeing through all the five sense organs, not only through the eyes. But that is how these masters explain. Pratyaksha, direct. Aksha, aksha means eyes. So I see through the eyes. It means I see through all the five sense organs. Anumana, anumana, inference. I hear the sound outside of a rain and I am certain that it's raining outside. Or there are other means of pramana or the right perception. You come to my house and you know it was raining heavily. So I trust you. There is no reason that you'll be speaking a lie. It is very, we do it in every day. No, 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 you should not go there. And we believe it. That also works as a direct instrument of the knowledge. If that works, why not the words and the testimony of these great masters should work? Why shouldn't we study the text? Why shouldn't we contemplate the text? Testimony, agama. Agama means the words from these masters. If I believe, if I trust that, oh, you know, you can park the car outside, no worries. So I park the car outside, I become totally free. I do it every day. In almost 90% of my transactional activities with the people, with the things, that is based on these words. Why not? So the master, every master says, do you believe that? Yes. Do you do that? Yes. Why don't you do with the words of these masters? They are not asking anything. They never asked you anything. They don't have any expectation. They don't want to be the New York bestseller. You see that? So those arguments comes. Agama, testimony from those masters. So when the master says tada drashtu swarupe avasthanam, when the mind is empty, then the real nature is reflected. No, I don't believe it. So then you cannot treat the path of mindfulness. Forget about it. I don't believe it. Why I don't believe it? Because I don't have a clarity. Why I don't believe it? Because I want to see through the sense organs. I want to create a concept. The mind is an instrument of knowledge. Sense organ is an instrument of knowledge. I believe only in sense organs. Do you believe in it? Yes. She is your wife? Yes. Can you show me wife in that beautiful woman? What is the proof? Your parents say that you are my son. What is the proof? Have you seen through the sense organ? Why you believe it? So teachers pass on some of the crazy arguments in order to make the intellect clear. Not just to disrespect anyone. It is asking that please understand This journey is not easy. You need to understand what is pratyaksha knowledge, the direct knowledge by the sense organ, anumana, the inference, and after the inference, you come to agama. What is agama? Agama, Eastern wisdom, works on the mind through the testimony, teachings of these masters that explains the principles, practices, and means to discover our true nature. That is the reason tradition that existed for more than 6,000 years. Clear. So that is about the first first modification of the mind. We get knowledge because of the modification of the word. We get the knowledge of our true nature without any modification of the mind. Because in modification, the anything becomes an object of knowledge in the mind. Because of non-modification, the self cannot become the object of the mind. The mind has to become totally calm without any disturbances in the water of an ocean, no turmoil. Then only I can see the moon in a full moonlight. And the moment I see there is something from where it has come, and the mind turns the face completely, I have realized I'm already into that state. It can never be reversed. Why? It exists. It is existence. So we have understood the modification, the state of modification of the mind, and the state of non modification of the mind. My friend, then we come to the second one, which says Viparyayo mithya jnanam tadarupam pratishtham. Viparyayo. The word viparyayo means wrong knowledge, false knowledge. Wrong knowledge is a false perception of a thing that does not correspond with the real form. So, reference point is the right perception. So, if that reference point, see that, instrument of knowledge, my eyes, dust particle enters into my eyes, and then I see you. Are you Casey or no? Wrong perception. I'm not to see clearly. That is what happens in the mind. So all those modifications enters into the second category, that is known as viparyaya, the false perception. Now, what is the take here? You see that the entire Eastern wisdom has one basic fundamental principle. I want to know my real self, yes. So first know what you are not. Don't start focusing, don't start arguing with the teacher that what you are. Filter out what you are not. What is left? That is you. So in that context, the master is saying the false perception or knowledge appears true but not true. Why should we understand and study the false perception? Because what I see, which mind takes as a true, but it is not true. That is why I need to go very deep into understanding viparyaya. Like The water in a mirage is a false knowledge. Like the sky is blue, sky is not blue. Now see what happens. Now, through understanding, through the knowledge, what I know, now I know that the sky is not blue, but still it appears blue. I know there is no water in the mirage, and I go to a desert, and still the water appears. But now I know there is a knowledge in the mind, there is an awareness in the mind. That is a very deeper understanding. There is an awareness, there is a knowledge lives deep inside me when I look at the sky that appears blue, and the knowledge tells me with a smile, come on, no. I look man as a husband that appears as a husband, but there is no husband. There is no son, there is no daughter. Can you just find out, dissect? Let me know. Can I live into that state? That is what is yogaschitta vritti nirodha. So I'm not fighting with a particular thought. I need not to control it. See that. Vipariyaya. When mind perceives not what it is, the false knowledge takes place. So, can I start living into that state from today, 24 by 7? It does not mean when I see the sky and it appears blue, I will say definitely the sky appears blue. I would say it, I would express it. Same way, you are my honey, you are not my honey, you are my son, you are my daughter. Everything works. I am a teacher. Yes, it will work. Transactional world. In the transactional reality, the mind should work with these modifications. There is no problem, but still I know. I know I'm not wife, I'm not husband, I'm not teacher, I'm not student. I know. I know the sky is not blue, but I would, in transactional reality, I will tell my son, yes, sky is blue. So look at it. It does not create, I need not to fight with my mind. That is one process of emptying the mind with that clarity. The false knowledge blinds the mind in different objects seeking pleasure is false knowledge. So, what happens now? Now I consider the sky is definitely blue. It is not. Fact is that it is not. So I live with that false notion. Similarly, when I see an object, my mind says the pleasure and happiness is there. And then I start living with anticipation of that pleasure present in that object, present in that person, living. So what happens? That mind causes non painful modification first because I'm expecting and seeking the pleasure falsely, and at a later stage it becomes painful. My master says at least you should contemplate and reflect 1 hour daily for 3 months. Pick up any object that gives you pleasure and contemplate. Find out the modification of the mind. The right modification, pramanam, then there is no problem. But still, the mind has those impressions. I like this, I like that. I hate this, I react to this. This will give me transactional reality. We will continue to do that. Knowing the reality inside. So after 3 months, the mind knows that this is transactional reality, not at the intellectual level, but it drops and dissolves those modifications of the mind that is preventing me to see and to go deeper into meditation. The false now another part, Master says, Vyasa says, this false knowledge is deeply linked to my ego. We will talk in detail about what is this stuff ego, but understand that ego is I-ness. I enjoy, I experience, I hate, I like, I react. So this I is attached to these modifications which are very harmful. It breaks up relationship, and we mind is constantly thinking with those false perception. Knowing as it is a right knowledge, and knowing opposite is a false knowledge. Knowing as it is. At least we are a human being. You are a beautiful human being, no problem. Continue to check it. You are a beautiful human being. That too is no problem. That is why in common social interactions, we always try to appreciate and recognize others. But if I do express the same thing with a kind of jealousy and hatred, it becomes the wrong perception. So I should appreciate a little and I should not react. You don't want to learn? Okay, thank you. In New Jersey, I'm giving lessons online. No, no, you don't understand. I'm living alone for the last 20. Who is not living alone? No, no, you guide me in the next session how to focus. So when I explain in the next session, then she said, okay, I will give you for money for 4 sessions. Simple. You continue. You stick to your Eastern wisdom. Finished. What has been the teachings of the masters, we should stick to that. When you stick to that, when you have a clarity and conviction. Otherwise, we go down, let me adjust, let me do this. It doesn't work. It may work for a couple of sessions, but the frustration will be the result. That is the reason we are not able to remove the ignorance. Asatoma satgamaya. The time comes when this false perception linked with the ego, the mind is constantly modified with that false perception, with different labels in the world pertains to object. I like pizza, okay? That is another. Say, express it, but check your mind. Is the mind depending on the pizza? That is the problem. So it means the mithya knowledge with the I-ness. That makes me helpless. That is what I have written. So you should express it in your way. Why I become helpless? My honey doesn't listen to me. I am helpless. Mithya knowledge. I'm, I'm giving you such a simple expression, but the moment we say it, I have already modified my mind. It is sticking to my ego. It will return instantly. It will react. Within, outside, it will respond. Okay, honey. So I have to find out how to express with a factual knowledge in the transactional reality. So there the master says, play your role well. like a Hollywood actor who becomes criminal in a movie. He plays his role and changes all his dress and reaches home, totally free from that role. So we will, mithya or false knowledge enters the mind like a darkness in the absence of light. That is why I have been giving different expressions of asatoma, satgamaya, tamasoma, jyotirgamaya. See that. Mithya knowledge, it is known as mithya knowledge, is our daily communication. But can I separate in the mind as a knowledge, as an awareness? I need not to worry about anything. I need not to control my mind. Come on. Mithya knowledge forces one to live with what one likes and what is pleasant. Means what? The second modification, how to recognize it, make a list of what you like, what you dislike, whom you like, whom you dislike, whom the mind says profit, whom the mind says loss, whom the mind says painful, whom the mind says non-painful. All these belongs to the category of the second modifications of the mind. Practical, applicable. It is applied in my life. The moment I wake up in the morning and I had a grudge against a person, second modification. So I should become aware this is a second modification, I must get rid of it, rather than I should get rid of that person in my life. You see, it gives you a new insight, new hope. Subjective states of the mind, wandering, forgetfulness, obsession, creates thought patterns of wrong knowledge through the attraction and repulsion. So we have understood in a different ways what is the second group of modification, that is viparya. So viparya is not that I speak a lie before you. It is the whole range of the thoughts pattern. And you'll be surprised. 80% of our thought pattern comes under this category. That is why I'm fully busy. That is why I'm always running. That is why I fall into tamasic state, means lethargic. And that is why my mind is ready for reaction and duality in a conflict. Once I understand from the point of view of symptoms in my mind, of likes and dislikes, painful and non-painful, and some, come on mind, why you are repeating about that guy? These thoughts are being repeated in my mind. Why? How? Wrong perception. Viparya. We need those 3 months for daily contemplation for an hour to reach to that state. Now we come to vikalpa. Pramana viparyaya vikalpa nidra smriti. Pancha vratya. So what is that? Vikalpa. Vikalpa is alternative, or also it means fancies, or also it means imagination. Vikalpa thoughts invoked up by the words without any reality. There is no reality. My master used to say, have you seen elephant flying in the sky? Do I have those nature of thoughts in my mind? I have become Bill Gates. I don't want to go into the other area, which is otherwise it will create reaction. I get attracted by the same sex. That is all. I will not speak further. Vikalpa, thoughts invoked by the words without any reality. So there is no reality. Vikalpa helps us to know the world by duality and division. That is the beauty. There is a positive state of vikalpa. There is a positive state of false modification of the mind. Transactional reality. Who is this guy? He is my honey. Transactional reality. But attached with the likes and dislikes, you are going to suffer. Same way the Vikalpa helps me to see the alternatives, to see the both the sides of the coin. Transactional reality. Otherwise, Vikalpa, why it is helpful to see the other side of the two alternatives? I'm earning $5,000, so I can project. For example, I can project that now how I'm going to earn $10,000. Transactional level. That vikalpa is definitely good. But other vikalpa, like elephant flying in the sky, can I have other alternative than this honey? You will continue to have many alternatives without any peace and happiness. That was the message I gave to one couple last year, and they both got together. They realized, and they are living together in harmony, in happiness. How simple it is. So, in order to reach to this clear understanding of Vikalpa, the third group of modification, contemplation, reflection, lot of practices are required. Then only you can realize. So Vikalpa indicates what one becomes by division. I have already given that. Understanding Vikalpa, the mind works through the words, and the words convey the knowledge of a person, thing, and object, past, present, and the future, location, home, workplace, anxiety, pain, pleasure, suffering. For knowledge in the mind, there should be a word, an object. But when object is not there for a word, what happens? Take an example. Word sun. There is no sun. There is a boy or a man alone. Understand that. Understanding vikalpa. We should use the vikalpa in our transactional reality. Come on, meet my friend. It is a vikalpa. There is no friend in there. It is a person. It's a very subtle. I have added those subtle things. We revise this book, we will add more. So see that vikalpa vritti, thought pattern. We have to be very, very clear and aware using this vikalpa vritti in a transit. Why don't you progress? I attended just for 5 minutes the Maya, what is that, graduation ceremony? And I said, 5 minutes I just spoke. You are a good person, become a good person. So there
Wonderful.
were almost 20 people, and they looked at me. I could see them. They looked at me. I said, I only taught in yoga how to become a good person. Tell me, ma. Did you learn that? Yes. Now you are a good person. So I just wanted to, it's a message. So it also comes under the vikalpa with the right perception. See that? So it means what we think about it. Think about it. These are five objective thought pattern, and I have lot of thoughts. How can I control it? How can I suppress it? How can I make my mind empty? It is not possible. So I created another thought pattern. of viparya, the second category, and the third category, and I continue to move, and I don't succeed in any kind of meditation or mindfulness. Forget it. It's too far from me. So Vikalpa, now leave that Vikalpa, you can read and understand. Now moving to Abhava Pratyaya Alambana Tamovrati Nidra. Deep sleep is the absence of all the impressions in the mind. Now understand how sleep is a thought pattern. There is no thought in the objective state of sleep. But still, many thoughts are going on deep inside. So that is why we say it is still a thought pattern. We are not aware of that. That is why it is asleep. The state of deep sleep is a thought pattern according to Patanjali. Now there are two things. I express, I know that I don't know myself. I know that I know you. So in both the cases, whether there is an object in the mind, I know it. There is no object in the mind, I still know it. But that is the state of the deep sleep. Deep sleep is the tamsik vritti and it causes the ignorance. It is also a thought pattern that I have explained easily. Fifth one, Anubhuti Vishaya Sampramosha Smrati. Memories are generated by past insofar as relevant experiences has not been covered. The memory is basically retention of past experiences in the mind. These past experiences are retained in the mind as impression. These impressions are in potential form, cannot be known as memory until they are converted into thoughts in the mind. Do you know X? Yes, I know it. So, recall, becoming aware what I knew in the past is memory. Then there is a right memory, and then there is a wrong memory. Right memory. You see, the Buddha explains the seventh noble path as Samyak Smriti. What is Samyak? Samyak means rightful. Smriti means memory. So he is explaining the mindfulness as a right memory. What is that right memory? I now remember I am of the nature of peace and happiness. So that is right memory. Can I keep that in my mind all the time? That is what my master used to say. Peace and happiness are my essential nature. So, briefly, we have covered 5 modifications of the mind. They are objective states because the mind is modified. Other are 5 subjective states of the mind. Last thing that you should be adding 5 subjective states of the mind in my left hand, 5 objective states of the mind in my right hand. Now let my right hand thumb represents the right perception, the first modified state of the mind, objective state of the mind. Now link it to the wandering mind. So even the right perception is distorted. See that permutation and combination. Now this links to the second state of the mind, the obsessed state of the mind. So that obsessed state of the mind will not reflect the right knowledge, even though it is a right perception. I heard that a guy drank too much and across the river he has to go to his home. So in the midnight, he found a boat and he started sailing the boat from midnight until morning. And in the morning, he got rid of that intoxication and he opened his eyes and he saw he could not open the rope to sail to his home. But that gave him a perception that he is sailing and he will reach his home. This one, forgetfulness mind. So right perception is only understood and realized with the last two subjective states of the mind. One example. Now I have a false perception. That is objective state of the mind. What is false perception? No, you cheated me and you are a bad guy, so that modification is there. Now it goes to the fourth subjective state of the mind. What will happen? My mind will drop all the reaction. But if it is guided by the first three subjective states of the mind, I will create more impression. If it is guided by the fourth state of the mind, then there is a right perception. I will drop all the wrong perception. My thoughts will calm down. Instant hesitation, instant calming can happen, can help me realize my nature. I enter into the fourth state. I look at this craziness of the modification of the mind, and that is the objective state. I can easily drop it. There are 48 simple instructions. 40 instructions in 5 verses by one master. What he says, that is the sadhana, that is the practice with principles of mindfulness to succeed. So one of the principle is this: check which subjective state of the mind you are living. If you are living in forgetfulness, if you are already obsessed, if you are living in wandering state, the wandering state will not help the subjective state of the mind, which says crazy and all the bad stuff, negative stuff. The wandering will go with it. It will strengthen. It will strengthen the wrong perception, and I will create a mess in my life. Nobody else is responsible. So there are a lot of stuff, this I instantly remember. So I said,